Welcome to Resin Shine BJD's Discussed, a raw, unfiltered pet talk from your two favorite dolls, Fairly Psycho and Chaos World. Grab something cozy, cause we're about to spill the tea.
Episode 3, Artist versus Company Dolls.
So, for our topic today.
So, I know I told you that I was going to do research for this, but when I tried, I actually couldn't find anything on, the topic of, what is an artist doll, what is versus a company doll. It seems like there's a lot of videos out there of people opening them, but, to learn the information, it wasn't there.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit vague, I would say.
Is artist dolls, or at least the rise of artist dolls, is that something new, or has it always been
Yes.
in the hobby?
They've always been around, but there's a lot more than there was. Oh my gosh, sorry, my dog is trying to do the most.
So for the artist dolls, right? So I think of things like Logan dolls and there's an Aiden's dolls or something like that. Maybe that's not the right one, but I think about them, right? And I think, okay, what makes them an artist, doll artist, is that they make their own dolls and they're the ones also selling it.
Exactly.
Versus a company, I think I heard, if I'm remembering correctly, the company finds different artists to do the dolls and then sells it. So I feel like if there was to be a definition, it could be that.
And I find too, usually with companies, it's not with artists, it's usually just the singular person and then a casting company, and they do everything else. But versus the company, they'll have one person who's in charge of taking the orders, then another person doing casting, and then the artist doing their part. So it's more of a team versus an artist doll. It's just usually one person and then maybe a casting company if they don't do it themselves.
Right. I think the good thing I find in the artist dolls, or at least the dolls created by smaller artists, is that there's a lot of unique sculpts. So they kind of push the limits on what can be a BJD. So sometimes you have really plus size dolls, or not just thick, because I do like myself a really cute thick doll, but they actually make it look realistic. They make it look like, oh, it's not super sexy thick, but it's more realistic, you know. You have bulges in places you might not want bulges, but that's what it normally is, you know. Or they'll do sculpts that are very outlandish, not your cutesy, oh my god, she's adorable, but kind of different or weird or whatever. So they push the limits. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is they push the limits on what is your typical BJD that you see.
I think so. I think those artists as well, with being so small, they're able to do that because a lot of artists, they usually still have their day job. So it's not if they make a doll that's very different, it's not gonna end them and put them on the street. Whereas a company, it could be that's literally all they do, and they have to make sure their employees get paid too. So they kind of have to cater to the masses of what they like.
That's true.
So they might the masses would probably prefer a really cutesy doll versus a more realistic plus size doll, versus when the artist, it's okay, if only 10 people buy, it's not that big of a deal. But with a company, if only 10 people buy, it's uh-oh, because we need to pay all these employees and stuff.
Yeah, I think one of the things I do like about artist dolls, and this is my personal opinion, but I don't think I would really buy an artist doll. I can't say that because I do have Kai, who's a Logan's doll, but
Yeah.
I don't think I would really go out of my way to buy an artist doll. I feel like for me personally, it's I really like this artist, I really like this person, I want to support them. That's why I would buy that doll.
Yeah. What is the appeal for a more company doll?
Um, for me personally, it's the easy accessibility, I think. Like for Alice's collection, it's one of my favorite places to buy dolls because it's like a one and done shop or one stop shop. You just go there and you can buy whatever doll. I feel like even with dolls, which I got Cole from, I like them
Yeah.
because you have all of these options to choose from and you can purchase them when you're ready. The thing that kind of hurts with the artist dolls is like it's comes out of nowhere sometimes and then they're like, okay, make your pre-order in the month, and it's like, oh nice, I don't have that much time to think about it. So then I get into, for me again, all of this is just personal, for me I get into this FOMO where I'm like, oh my god, I need to buy this or else I'm never ever going to find it again. So
Mhm.
the decision to buy the doll ends up being impulsive instead of being something that's like, I've been wanting this doll for a while, let me get it.
Yeah, I get that. I think for me, I think I have like a couple like of artists not heads, I would say. Because like technically Little Rebel would be considered an artist doll. I have some of the heads, and then for a full doll, I have YB dolls, artist doll, and definitely there's some pros and cons. One thing I did really like about like YB doll because she had more like animal type BJDs. I have not seen very many like companies do that. It's very, like you said, it's different. So I did really like that. I guess compared to a company, a thing that I find is a big issue for a lot of people with artists is that their customer service is not the same as a
Mm,
company. Like if a company says like, okay, why did you order this doll? It's going to take us approximately 2 months to make it. They're usually pretty correct about their timing versus like an artist. It's like, okay, it's supposed to come in 2 months, but that's a big maybe.
mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh no. Or there's smaller things where if a company you just like ask a few questions, they'll like gladly answer. Sometimes with the artist, if you're asking questions, they get like irritated with you as a customer and like they might treat you differently because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like a whole thing as well.
Yeah, I feel like with the artist dolls, it makes me think. I always say this, like when I worked at two of my most favorite jobs were also two of my least favorite jobs, which were when I worked at the card shop and when I worked at this board game cafe, right? And my biggest
Hmm.
issue, the reason why I didn't like it, was because the owners, I was like, they've never worked in this industry before. They just had money and was like, let me open this business. And that's what made me irritated with working there because I'm like, you clearly don't know how a restaurant is ran or how a card shop is ran, you know?
Hmm.
So, and you can tell that, like, yeah, maybe they had good customer service, but like, why would you have a kitchen upstairs but your dining area downstairs? Making your
Hmm.
servers run, not only serve them but run up and down the stairs to bring the food. You didn't have a runner or a busser or anything like that. Clearly you have not been in the industry, so you don't know how, what is needed to run it smoothly, right? So sometimes I
Hmm.
feel like that. And don't get me wrong, because there's a business I want to start and I'm on the same path. I'm like, well, I've never been in that industry before, so I'm probably not going to be the best at it, you know? So it's more so if people can, what is that word? Be more self aware with that so that they
Hmm.
can figure out, okay, what makes a good XYZ. I feel like that could kind of solve the problem there, because it's like, yeah, we can argue that an artist, a doll artist, is one man team, right? And
Mhm.
it's gonna be hard, but it's like, okay, there are other people who have been a one man team. How did they do it? How, being self aware that, yeah, I'm not the best at customer service. I'm not the best at keeping up with the DMs or the answers. A lot of the time, we're getting the same answers. Okay, how can we resolve that? I think it takes a little bit more than, let's say, what some people want to do. And it's not just doll artists, it's just something that human people do all the time. They get into
Mhm.
something with zero experience, thinking they're the best at it, and then wonder why they're not the best at it.
Yeah. I think another bonus to company, I would say, versus artists is I find that there's more consistency with company because like you said, a lot of them have like experience already in making dolls or like doing face ups or the art, that type thing. So usually the product is, I would say, like decently polished. The If you buy two dolls, like maybe in a tan color, that both of the tans are most likely to be the same shade versus like, for example, from my experience with Little Rebel, not like a shade or anything, just something I noticed is I bought the same color of tan, but that tan had been changed multiple times. So even though I technically have the same name of that color, it's not the same between like some of my older heads and like the newer ones. So that could be a bit difficult if you're trying to body match, but versus if you were with like, oh, sorry about my dog. Versus if you're with like Resin Soul, then and you pick like their dark tan, the dark tan from like 5 years ago is still the same as it is now. That type thing.
Yeah, I think it's really hard. I don't want to come off as don't buy artist dolls, but at the same
Definitely
time,
not.
right,
Just something to be aware of, say.
exactly. It's like I can see myself. Let's talk about how I was a year ago, right? I could see myself blindly buying a artist doll without the consideration of what I have now. The reason I might stick with the company dolls, which sounds really messed up, is just, you know, what is the word? Security as well. Um,
Hmm.
but basically, at the end of the day, what I would really, if I would go back to myself a year ago and give myself advice, it would be look into who you're looking to buy from. You know,
Hmm.
how reliable are they? How do they run their stuff? What is the, you know, consensus? And not just, what bothers me is, oh, just look at their Instagram, because people put, like, they pin um reviews. What is that called? People reviews, right?
Yeah.
Of their service. And I'm like, that doesn't work, because somebody can delete a comment, they can remove the comment. That doesn't really work. I'm thinking of a
Mhm.
particular person right now that I haven't gotten my stuff from, but all of their reviews is how amazing they are, and how quick they are
Mhm.
to get things done. And it's like, yeah, I've been waiting for almost 2 years. I haven't gotten what I paid for, and there's no future of me getting that money back. And it
Mhm.
was a pretty penny that I spent. So it's like, I think if there was more resources out there to get honest reviews on the different artists and stuff, then that security can be a lot better, I feel.
I think so. I'd love that. I think it might be something for the future, for the growth of the hobby, something to work on.
I think
And
what
one thing,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say like one bonus thing I would say. kind of like what you said, where you might have to impulse buy a little bit, is some artists will just do limited for a certain doll, which is kind of nice where you have something that's like a little bit more like rare or unique, which could be a little bit nice versus like a company where it's like maybe, for example, like a mini fee or something where like everyone has a mini fee type thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a bonus.
Yeah, I can see that. I think like there are two artists on the top of my mind right now that I feel like
Mhm.
have the artist dolls in a chokehold. At least maybe it's just my algorithm. But I feel like there are
Mhm.
so many other artist dolls out there that have a lot better quality and who take it a little bit more serious and
Mhm.
have a style that's like actually unique, not just like, oh, I have, this program, let me use it, but actually, like, it looks like they take a lot of time. Like, when you only have one or two dolls you are releasing in a year, it tells me, at
Mhm.
least it tells me, everybody, personal opinion, it tells me that you took a lot of time working on it and you put a lot of effort into making it not only appealing and different, but perfect it. Versus some people, they're releasing three or four, five dolls every other month, you know, and
Yes, I've seen that.
yeah, and it's like I love it. I love that you guys are having a lot of fun and producing these dolls and everything. But how do you expect somebody to keep up with that if they do want to
Mhm.
support you when they're $500 a piece, sometimes more, and there's so many other inexpensive options. For me, I rather spend $700, $800 on an artist doll that I can see they put a lot of effort into it. They put a lot of
Mhm.
time into it because that will also, it kind of tells me that the production is probably going to be a little bit better as well. And I'm going to be less disappointed, you know?
Mhm. I totally get that. For some reason, honestly though, I was having kind of mini flashbacks
Mm-hmm.
to cell phones when you were saying like there's one every few months. So I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking about freaking cell phones. How
Yeah.
there's a new one like every 6 months, and they're so expensive.
Right. But let's use that as an example, okay? Cell phones. They have a whole team working behind it. They have a whole,
Mhm.
probably 100 people working, maybe more than 100 people working on one phone. It makes sense why we get so many releases. Same with the company dolls. I feel like there are some company dolls that they release a new doll or a couple of new dolls every month. That's because they have a team behind it. But when you're a
Mhm.
one man crew and you're releasing, in my opinion, again, in my opinion, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells, but when you're releasing so many different sculpts and you're one person, that could possibly overwhelm you, because
For
then
sure.
I think I remember seeing like some casting companies say that you
Mhm.
need to reach X amount of orders before they can cast your dolls. So it's like, okay, you
Mhm.
have 10 dolls that you created in the past 3 months, and you need, I don't know, let's say 15 per doll. I don't have a calculator. That's a lot of dolls you have to sell. That's a lot of people that you need to back you up.
Very true.
So for me, it's like, okay, you can do that, or you can make one or two dolls, and it's easier to get more people to get those,
Mhm.
and you can work to really craft something amazing, in my opinion. So like there are some artists that I look at, even like, no shade on it, but even Logan's dolls releases a lot more than you would really expect, I guess, for somebody.
Mhm.
Maybe they're not a one man team, who knows, but from the time I got Kai, by the time that I got Kai to the time now, I feel like I've seen a new doll concept at least every other month. So,
Hmm.
a lot of people do like to make a lot. They don't want to be, what is the word? They don't want to be refined from making only a couple, but you can still tell the the effort that is put into some of the other dolls.
Yeah, I could see that. There's another thing too I wanted to discuss versus artists versus companies. So far with companies, I've seen the traditional resin. And one thing I find with artists, because you were mentioning with casting companies and like the thresholds and stuff, a new thing that I've noticed has been increasing with artist dolls is 3D printed dolls.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of more of a thing now. What are your thoughts on that?
I It's not really my aesthetic. I think we talked about it before, like the lines that show in it and everything like
Hmm.
that. At the same time, like it might not be for me, but I could see where the target audience is. People who can't afford dolls, because a lot of the times, or at least what I've seen, well, let me wait for the garage to stop. The thing that I find is it's more affordable,
Hmm.
so I can see that opening doors to for other audiences, but I don't know what the quality is, so it's like, okay, how long will they last? It's such a new thing.
Hmm.
Is it going to be something that like resin dolls can last many, many, many years? I don't know how long are those 3D dolls going to last for and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot more research that should come out of it, at least if I was going to do something new like that, which is funny to say because I don't do research. What are your opinions about it?
For me, yeah, I'm not fully sold on it yet because I've been finding so far they're still in, I guess, like I would call it tester phase. Because like a lot of the 3D printed dolls I've been seeing, they're still like a little bit rough with like the sanding and like you said, the lines showing. And it's just a bit more because I know with some resin dolls they can have like the seam lines, but I find with 3D printed dolls they have more lines than it would be with the seam lines. It's not easy to hide like with resin dolls right now. I do like that 3D printed dolls are lighter than resin dolls, which could be nice if you want to travel with them. But and I heard too they're not as fragile either. And also too different colors is a little bit more accessible, which I think that's pretty cool, but I'm not fully sold on it. I also don't know because I have seen from the artists I've seen doing it, the pricing is still kind of I guess it could be like on par with maybe like a resin soul doll, where it could be like 200 to 300. Sometimes I've seen like up to 4 or 5. So I'm not sure yet if like the quality of 3D printed is worth the pricing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's like the whole, we'll probably get into next, like pricing wise between artists and companies, but I'm not sure just yet if I would deem it worth it.
Yeah, I think all in all, artist dolls might be a different target. Like everything is. Let's look at fashion dolls, right? Fashion dolls are
Mm,
definitely a different target than those who buy resin dolls like BJDs.
yeah.
Um, and I feel like this new 3D printed is going to be, it's just going to be a different target, you know?
Mm,
Whether or not it's going to be successful is whether or not there's going to be a target for it. I don't think I'm the
yeah.
target. I might buy one to test it out to see like how does it look, but if I do, it's going to be one that I'm like, "Oh my god, I love this sculpt." You know?
Mm-hmm.
Um or maybe I don't know, I'll get it like if I want to get one for a friend or my brother or something, I might get him the 3D printed one versus
Mm,
a resin one because it's going to take less time to care for it or what have you than a
mm,
resin or vinyl or something like that that has a lot more care taken into it, you know? Or like you
yeah.
said, maybe I'll get a mini me or something like that that I can take around with me everywhere I go. At the same time, like, because it's lighter, but at the same time, I have a lot of MSD size dolls, so weight hasn't really affected my collecting. But who knows, you
Mm,
know? I think really at the end of the day, the 3D printed is just a whole nother target.
I could see that. I might try one in the future. I just haven't seen one that I've fallen in love with yet. So I think that might be a while
Mm-hmm.
before it becomes like big, big if it does.
Yeah. I think for me, so I just got into Blythes, right? And I love the
Mm,
artist Blythes where they take all that time to sculpt the faces and what have you. And I think that is what I value in some of the artist dolls. Because if I get a company doll, that's like if I was to shop at Target or, yeah, at Target or Walmart or whatever. But if I was to get an artist doll, it's like if I was to go to Etsy, go to somebody who's taken a lot of time. And for me, I like to see the effort in the dolls. So sometimes I do like the artist dolls. Like going off topic of the 3D printed, just artist dolls in general. I like to see that because you can see the effort that they put into those dolls. And I think
mm,
there's not a value, but like you were saying earlier, the limited edition, you know, companies say limited edition and then they release it multiple times, you know, but
yeah.
an artist might have a limited edition and it actually is limited, and there's that, I think, collector value. I feel like that
Mm,
could really do well with collector, but I think I didn't write any notes down to kind of guide us today, so like I'm all over the place. But another thing I think about is there's a doll YouTuber right now who's trying to sell a lot of their dolls, and a lot of them are artist dolls. And she's trying to sell them for the price that, around the price that she got them for, if not a little
yeah.
bit more, because they are artist dolls. But I think the reason they're not moving is because it's an artist doll and it's a very specific um, target audience for that. You know, where
Mm,
somebody's like, why am I going to send $700 to get this teeny tiny doll that, yes, it was made from an artist, which is great, but I'm buying it secondhand and it's still that
mm,
much. So it's like I can find it a little harder if somebody down the road decides to sell them and there's not a need, not that there's not a need, but there's not a, my brain just completely shut off. There's not a desire for them or something like that. I don't know. I jumped off the train. I didn't even
That's
just
okay.
lose it. I just jumped off.
That's okay. Which it could set that could segue into our company pricing versus artists. So I would say I'm not saying you can't do it, but I would say if you're brand new in the hobby, I would definitely say go with a company doll, especially if you're unsure, because they do have really good, like, it's still expensive, but like good starter. Like, for example, you can get a tiny USD from Resin Soul for 100 and some change, maybe like 120 with shipping or something like that, depending where you live,
Mm-hmm.
just to like dip your feet in if you would like. Or you could even get an MSD. I remember I got when I first started, my Resin Soul May was like 150. That's like with shipping at the time. And so that was like a nice little starter versus if you're going for an artist doll, I would say for minimum are usually like 300 and up, I would say. And usually it's not big dolls either. They're usually smaller dolls. Like for example, I keep wanting to say Pasha Pasha, but their name is not Pasha Pasha. It's Pavovi sisters. They their dolls are about the size of minifees, skinnier. They have bigger ones now, but at the beginning, skinnier than minifees, very small type dolls. And they started at the time at 1200 and they were pretty small. And I think that was plus shipping. So I would just say for starters, I would definitely go company first if you're just trying. But then if you know, like, okay, this is like a thing for me, then you might want to invest more into an artist doll because I find that artist dolls are usually more expensive than company dolls, especially for the sizing. So, for example, you could get a ring doll for about like a full size 70 centimeter ring doll for like 600, sometimes 700. But you could also get like, just as a random example, maybe like a color or Frapzilla doll that is a lot smaller, USD size, MSD size for 700. So that's like something that to just take into account. Not saying like one's bad, one's good, but just something to take into account.
Yeah, I would also say like the when you were talking about the Pasha Pasha dolls, which I
Mhm.
know those are like those are artist dolls. Those are
Mhm.
definitely like they are a piece of art. You and I,
Mhm.
we collect BJDs as to fill the stories, to tell a story, you know, to do um storytelling basically. I don't see somebody, and I could be totally wrong, but I don't see somebody buying a Pasha Pasha doll for characters storytelling, right? Those are
Mhm.
because they're an art piece. It's like buying a Mona Lisa for your living room. You'd buy that doll. That's very much an artist doll, and I think maybe we can talk about that in a moment, like the difference, the different type of artist dolls out there, because
Mhm.
and um that type of art, that's a piece of art. Like I wouldn't buy one because it's really expensive, but that's a piece of art. I can appreciate that, you know. But then seeing some other artist dolls, let's say Logan's doll, I have one, right?
Yeah.
That's not at the same level, yet it is still an artist doll, you know? So keeping that into consideration, like I just realized I was like looking around my room. I actually have two artist dolls. I have one from Logan Dolls, and I have one, I don't remember who. Oh, it was, no, that was the name of the sculpt. I can't remember who it was from. I went on, why can't I remember any of these names? I went on one of the doll sites and they had like independent sellers, and I had bought one, and
Mhm.
he's a cyber doll. So he has a human face, but then he has a mask you can take off, and it's like cyborg kind of stuff. And then he came with
Mhm.
some arms that were like swords and stuff, like super cyber stuff. He,
Yeah.
I believe, in total was maybe $600, and that's me really rounding. But at the same time, I
Mhm.
got a bunch of extra pieces. And then
Nice.
Kai was $450. I have not spent more than that for a doll because the company doll that I got for Cole was, I think, like $300 at most. And then
Mhm.
Julian, who is a USD, I think I got him for 250, but that's cuz I got a full set. So there is like this big difference between a company dolls, but also I think there's a big difference between artist dolls like Pasha Pasha, which is a huge art piece, and something like the Logan's doll Jin, you know.
Mhm. Yep, I totally get that. Pasha Pasha is, for I guess for lack of better better words, I would say they are definitely the put in the glass case and display type dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to be bringing them to the woods and putting them in some pond water for photos.
Right.
I mean, some people might, but I definitely wouldn't.
Right. But there is a big difference. I think my first. I have. It's a little bit of icky waters for me, maybe for everybody in the hobby, but my first doll is either the. Why can't. Miyu Dao Dao. That is my
Oh,
first purchase. Or it's. Who did I get first, though? Or it's the Angel doll, Judgment. I can't remember. Oh,
hmm.
Doll Zone Judgment. So either one of those two, both company dolls. But my third one that I brought home was the Logan's doll, Jin. And
Hmm.
that one, because I bought it on Denver Doll Emporium, it was a lot easier to, work with buying the artist dolls. So going back to what I was saying way in the beginning of this, where it's like some of the new artist dolls is there might not be as much security when you're purchasing with them. There are
Hmm.
ways to buy from an artist doll through a reliable company website, or not company, sorry, through a reliable doll website. And so you can get your hands on that. So my Logan's doll Jin I got from Denver Doll Emporium, and then the Cyber doll that I got for Steven, I bought him off of Jane's Doll Land. That's what it's called. So they're doll sellers, but they also have independent doll artists available for you to purchase through them. So it's a little bit more of a peace of mind.
Hmm. I could just say, especially if like you're newer too, like you said, that peace of mind is really important.
Because you don't want your first purchase to, rock the waters if something goes
Exactly.
wrong.
It's definitely, and I know there's tons and tons too of different artist dolls you can choose from, which I would say is nice that there's different options.
Yeah, I think too, like, when I was looking through artist dolls, something that I learned is there's more to it than just BJDs in the artist dolls. Because there are some where, like, they were cloth dolls. No,
Hmm.
were they cloth dolls? I think they were. But they were able to move. Like, they had joints. So
Hmm.
I think there has always been that kind of doll artists out there. But now that there's more technology, bringing that type of hobby, the doll artist hobby, into the BJD, I think, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. It might open up the doors for some new people. But like you said, sometimes the pricing isn't all that low.
Hmm.
But I'm.
I think that's what I find like for most people, they've been in the hobby usually at least a year before they buy an artist doll is the pattern I've seen. Because then at least you have like a semi solid idea of like if it's for you and putting in that investment if it's worth it.
I wonder if companies are going. I don't know if like the BJD companies will see this, but I wonder if there's going to be companies out there that see this 3D printed doll and think maybe we should try that. And like there is just this new evolution of how BJDs are made.
I don't know. The thing is about the companies, because like they mostly uh, be, originated in Asia. I find they're a bit, not in a bad way, but they're a bit stubborn with how they do things, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like it took a really long time. because like I don't know if you've seen the old school like BJDs, kind of from like Volks, where they all had kind of like the more childlike round little heads and
Mm-hmm.
faces, more like little chubby chibi bodies. They're cute. I'm not gonna be mad, but it actually took a really long time before they would kind of like branch from that and do like different bodies and different looks from that. So I think maybe, but I feel like it will take a really long time for them to budge.
You know, now that you mention that, another thing to add with the artist dolls that I notice is that for me, I get MSD size dolls, and my characters are mature. They're in their 20s. But when you usually get an MSD size doll, they're very young. They have very baby
Mhm,
faces, like they're maybe teenagers at most. And one of the
mhm,
things, the reason I really liked Logan dolls is because Kai was an MSD sized doll and he looked mature. And I think like that's
mhm,
a lot of the artist dolls I think are kind of pushing the limits. It's kind of like, okay,
mhm,
we're done with the childlike little dolls. We want MSD sizes, but we want them to look mature. And that's what I find a lot in the artist dolls. Because there's another one, I wish I can find the name of it. I think I'll do that now while we're chatting. But there's one in particular where they have an Aiden doll. I know at least that much. Where he looks so mature and he looks amazing and everything. And they have him in the smaller sizes that you can get. And it's like, cool, I have MSD sized dolls, but they don't all look like little child. Little child, okay, English, little children.
Yeah. I think one of the big deals, this was a while ago, of more of like a company was, did you ever see the You Know Us?
Yes.
When they came out with the Kyle and I won't forget the other name, but they were like the first time we saw, well, not first, but one of the few that we saw. It was a MSD mature male who actually had like male features, like he had a male body. It wasn't like just a tiny like boy body.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing. And I remember they were like limited too, and you couldn't get them.
Right.
That was a huge thing.
Yeah, I have Kai. His body is masculine, but it's very like I feel like it's still very maybe cartoonish is what I should use. But
Mhm.
the cyber one that I got, oh my gosh, they have detachable wee wees. I almost had, like, I was not expecting that, and they had multiple sizes, multiple lengths. I was like, what am I
That's
looking at right
hilarious.
now? I was like, my virgin eyes, oh my gosh. But I was not used to that because I think even Cole has a more mature body. He's a with doll Hyro, I think is what it's called.
Mhm.
Gyro. He has a muscular body. I don't think he has like those parts are not detailed, right? So you have the artist dolls that definitely put a little bit more effort into that, you know? And I'm like, oh, okay, I see you.
I'm just hoping we'll see more of that, like the more smaller, mature. I
Yeah,
did notice they do have a lot of small, mature for females, but not so much for males.
yeah, that is definitely true. I think like after everything we've talked about, because again, the when we talk about the artist dolls, I'm thinking of two people in particular. They only make female dolls, so they don't really help me
Mhm.
out in any way. But when I broaden my mind a little bit and think about the other artist dolls out there, they definitely add at least to my collection, because if I was ever to purchase one, because of those features, because they have male dolls, which is not really popular out there, that don't look like little boys. They look like men, you know?
Mhm. I think that's an ongoing battle because, like, even with, I guess I would deem it a company because it's not just one person. With Smart Doll, to this day, they're still pushing for him to make males that
Mm-hmm.
are not using base female bodies. Because like a lot of the, at least for the vinyl community, a lot of the males are just female bodies
Mm-hmm.
and that are flat chested. But they've been a big push for like male bodies that look masculine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a thing. It'll get there eventually, but it's taking a while because the females, of course, are more popular.
Yeah. Especially with being a Japanese kind of not audience, but being located there. I know
Mhm.
female, a lot of male doll, a lot of male doll collectors in Japan have female dolls,
Yeah,
so it
usually.
makes sense.
Exactly.
I will say, if they get a male smart doll, that will be my first smart doll. I will tell you, I would drop the money. I will tell Steven I'm bringing out the credit card. I will be purchasing him right away. Like, I
I
like the
cannot wait.
females. Right. I
They
like the.
had
Go ahead.
a male in the past, but
Mm-hmm.
it was only a limited time. And I'm like, we need the boys back, please.
Okay, I found the artist. It's Ebby Dolls. EB Dolls. I don't know how to say it, but
Oh, I've
that's the
heard
one I
of that
keep.
name.
Yes, they're the ones that make the Aiden doll that I keep talking about. That's the company's name. I found it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So I really like their dolls and everything. It's just every time they're ready to release, going back to what we were saying before, I'm never ready to purchase a doll, you know, but
That's always how it goes, I swear.
but yes, I think one thing that the artist doll community brings to us is the fact that we're able to get those male dolls that are more mature. My Now that I think about it, now that we're actually talking about it, I might have more artist dolls in my collection just purely because of that.
Mm. A fun little bonus round I thought we could do is naming our favorite, I guess, our top 3 or 4 favorite companies, and then our top 3 or 4 artists.
Okay.
Mhm.
I don't actually. I might have to do two of each because I don't have as many dolls.
That's totally fine. It doesn't even have to be ones that you have. It could be just like ones that you've seen that you really like.
Okay. That changes the game.
Mhm.
You want to start with yours?
Okay, I'll start with I guess the artist. So I really love I'm probably gonna say it wrong because I would say it in the wrong order. Mary Doll Round, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look, or it might be the other way around. Yep, it is Mary Doll Round. Because I'm always like, I always want to say Mary Round Doll, but it's Mary Doll Round. I love it because they've been around for a while and kind of like more in the past where kind of all the dolls had similar faces. Like I said, like those cutesy round faces. Mary Doll Round kind of did a bit more of like more ethnic looks. So like more realistic ethnic looks. So they have like some more like accurate Asian looking dolls, more like correct, not just the tan like air quote like brown person doll, like but it's just literally the same European type features, but just change the color. She
Mm-hmm.
did like actual with like features of like African descent dolls type thing. And I really liked that because that was one of the first I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I really like is, even though I don't have one, I think I might get one day if I have the chance, is a Twigling. I really like Twigling because they have just unique faces.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do not see these faces all the time. I wouldn't say all of them are pretty faces personally, but I like their uniqueness for
Mm-hmm.
sure. It's almost like an unrefined beauty, I would say.
Yeah.
Those are another one. And then I guess I'm a little bias, of course, for this one is I really like um YB doll because I think her little animal dolls are just so cute. Like if you ever have time to look up her Finch is super cute. I have the Bomb like BOM, which is the little bear one. It's so cute. I love it. So I'd say that I'll put those as my three. There's more that I like, but I'll just keep it at three for my favorite artists.
I would say the one that I have would be Logan's doll.
Hmm.
I do like theirs. There were a few that I was thinking about getting, but I like had to stop myself. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I have to add that one because I have one. But some of the other ones that I love the Lily Cat dolls. I'm not active on
Oh, they are
Instagram.
gorgeous.
Right. I'm not active on Instagram, so it's hard for me to know to keep up to date with things. So I don't know what their
Mhm.
last release is, but there's a few um, YouTubers who have their dolls, and I'm always like absolutely in love with them. Um, Ebby doll, the one that we were talking about before with the Aiden doll, I really
Mhm.
like theirs or his so much because they always look so freaking mature. Even the women look more mature than
Mhm.
a lot of the female dolls out there. And then
Mhm.
my last one, I had it and I lost it actually, but it was I can't maybe I shouldn't say it was really my favorite because I only saw one of the dolls and it happened to be a bat, and that's why I fell in love with it so much. But let me see
Mhm.
if I can find that really quickly. Oh no, it's not going to show it. I guess they deleted it. But there's a particular doll artist that came out with a bat version. It was super cute and I like it. I can't find the name of it cuz the post was deleted. So there you go. Those are my favorite ones for the artist dolls.
Fair enough. For company, it's so hard. There's so many companies I really like. It's so hard, but I'll just grab just three that are off the top of my head that I really like. I have some that are, I think all of these I have in my collection. So one I really love is Dalmore. They've been
Mm.
around for a long time. I would say like beginner wise, they're not be like just literally first doll level. I would say they're like a one step higher. So their
Mm-hmm.
dolls are like a little bit more pricier, but they're not like super, super expensive. So I thought that was pretty good. They're like a mid-range company. I find their quality's really good. I've ordered not just dolls, but I've ordered like wigs from them and clothing items, that type stuff. The quality was always just fantastic. The dolls themselves are also fantastic. I have Azul Love from them, and I have a Kaylee some from them, and they're just fantastic quality. Like I cannot complain. The faces are gorgeous. Detail is so good. Cannot complain. I think they're fantastic, and I hope they're around for many years to come. Then I would say another one I really like would be, well, I think this is kind of like a back and forth because maybe he's deemed an artist, but at the same time he's kind of advertised as a company. I do not recommend buying from him right now, but Dolce, I Dolce's a whole can of worms because of the whole scamming thing. But before he was hardcore scamming, he was actually decent. And his dolls are absolutely gorgeous. And when you actually, well, when you used to get them, like the detail of them are really good and definitely loved them for sure. Sadly, I would not recommend buying from him, no matter how tempting the prices. Do not do it. He's not sending out orders, which is like an issue we touched on earlier with the like people not sending out orders. So Even though it's in my top, I do not recommend for doll sheet. Then I would say another one I really love is Resin Soul because they are a fantastic beginner company to start with, just to like dip your feet in the water. They're really good. Like if you have questions, they're really good. They're really accommodating with like colors. They even will do resin matching as well. Like if you have a head and you want to match a body, you can send in like the head cap or like an extra handpiece or whatever to them, and they can make you a body to go with your head that you have. So they're really fantastic customer service with Resin Soul. The dolls are really affordable, so you can like get into the hobby. You could get like a whole doll with the face up and everything for like under 200 if you really want for like MSD and USD. I think it'd be about 200-ish, maybe 250 for an SD, but that's still fantastic pricing that you can get a doll. So they always have a special place in my heart for Resin Soul, even though they do have a lot of haters for being like a more affordable company, but I think that's stupid to hate on them for that because I honestly think they're pretty fantastic, especially for getting into the hobby.
Yeah, for my companies, I decided to pick three that are kind of like my dream company dolls to own, and it's
Hmm.
purely aesthetic. I just love how these dolls look. The first one is Doll Chateau. I know that one's a little bit more popular with like I feel like when I first got into watching videos, everybody was talking about Doll Chateau, but they just have so many beautiful looking dolls. Some of them are just
Hmm.
uncanny as well. Like they kind of just look creepy, but you know me, I love anything like that. So Doll Chateau has to be one of them that I just wish one day I can own. Another
You
one
will.
which another one which I actually it's going to be coming sooner rather than later, but it's Imple Doll, I think is how you say it. Their
Oh, yeah.
sculpts are so beautiful and they have unique as well. Like in not in the same sense as Doll Chateau unique, but they have different facial features. Their dolls don't all
Hmm.
look the same. You know, you can tell
Hmm.
the difference between one and the other, and there are a few of them actually in the 60 centimeters, I believe.
Hmm.
65 centimeters. So there's a few in that one that I'm like looking at. So I might have a bigger doll in the near future. But I just their sculpts. You look at every single one of them and they all look different. Versus some other companies, I'm looking at a doll and I'm like, wait, do they have the same sculpt? Like they don't, but sometimes you can't tell. This company, you can tell each doll is different, and I love that. And then the last one I have, I don't know why it makes me think of more of a European sculpt, but I really like the Moscow, no, Mask Cat. Mask Cat dolls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those ones they have their sculpts don't look as it doesn't have a lot of Asian features. It has more feels like European features. It feels like it's a Russian doll. I don't know why, like a Russian sculpt or artist sculpt. But I really like it looks traditional to me for some reason. So I really like those three companies and in the future I shall have at least one from each of those companies.
Nice. So I guess that would, I think, be it for at least for my points for company versus artist. Was there anything else you wanted to cover?
I think that was it. I should have wrote notes because my brain is all over the place. But yeah,
Fantastic. So, I guess for viewers, tell us below what your favorite company or artists are. I'd love to see what you guys like. And if you want, you could put a little why, but you don't have to. But definitely let us know.
yes, please open the doors for the artist doll community out there because, like I said, there's only a few that I know, And I'm sure there is many, many out there that I've never heard of. Maybe she's never heard of. Who knows?
Mhm. I'd always like to look, that's for sure.
Well,
Oh,
that
great.
was it.
Hmm. I guess until the next time.
Bye.
Bye.
That's it for today. To listen to our behind the scenes segments of today's episode, be sure to check out Fairly Psycho's video, available now.